I'm reading through 2 Samuel. I think it's end of chapter 6, maybe, and then 7. And so, backstory, my ex-boyfriend that I was with, I had this thing where I was like really controlling and super jealous and like wanted to just literally like see his every move. So it's a little bit crazy, yes. I'll explain to you why I was crazy later. And then side note, he was not Christian, so that explains a lot. Anyway, so I'm reading here and it says, it's so funny because it says, so David, like, brought the ark and he was already king, and he was so excited and that he was bringing it into his own city, and was like literally like celebrating and worshiping and just dancing. It says here that, David was dancing before the Lord with all his might, while he and all the Israel were bringing up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sound of trumpets. But his first wife, Michal, was daughter of Saul, and she was like in a castle wherever they lived, and so she was probably in her room or like whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that she was looking out the window and looked down and saw that David was dancing, and it says here that for some reason like she despised him in his heart. Like she just got really mad and she, like, despised him, which means like just couldn't stand him and like didn't want anything to do with him or whatever. Like she just was hating upon David. And so as we keep reading, when David actually got home, it says here that, Michal came out to meet him, and she was all like, how the king of Israel was distinguished himself today, going around half naked in full view of these slave girls of his servants, as any vulgar fellow would. So, I think you see where she got mad, right? So, she saw that David was dancing and having a good time, just praising and worshiping God, but he was also half naked. He was also doing it around these women, these slave girls. But the thing is that she didn't see what was really happening. And so, like, she got angry, right? And so it says here, David said to Michal, it was before the Lord, And so I remember just, like, having some issues and problems with my own relationship, and like I'd confront him and he'd be just like explaining like it was this, or like I was doing that, like it wasn't really real or whatever. And so he was like, it was before the Lord, who chose me rather than your father, because that's true, or anyone from his house, when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people, Israel. He's like, I will celebrate before the Lord. He's like, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to, like, go around rejoicing and, shouting and, like, singing. And I probably will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, but by these girls you are jealous of, I will be held in honor. And so, it's just crazy because, like, his thoughts and mentality and where his heart was completely different from where Michal's heart, thoughts and ideas were coming from. His whole thing was like he was worshiping and praising God. Like everything else was like whatever, like it just happens to be there, like it wasn't a big deal to him. But because Michal was, you know, seeing it from a different view, like her heart was not probably rightfully in God. She was seeing it completely different. And so even though he was trying to explain to her that it had nothing to do with any of those girls, it was because, you know, what he was doing was praising God, Michal couldn't understand that. And he was like, it doesn't matter. These slave girls, like these girls that you're jealous of, these girls that you're like hating up on, I'm gonna be held in honor among them, more so than you are and are doing and are going to do. And because of this, this jealousy and resentment that, you know, came over her, it says that Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. So God withheld any children that she probably would have had she not opened her mouth, had she not become resentful, had she not become hateful towards David. But because she did, and she was not, you know, she didn't have Christ or Jesus like in her heart, she was unable to see what was really happening, what was really going on, and then was cursed. Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. Like she was cursed for the rest of her life. So the point here is that when you are dating someone that is not aligned with God, and you are, or at least possibly like, you know of God and you've had a relationship with God, and then you go off and date someone who's not, there are going to be complications there. You know, you're going to see it completely different than what he or she is seeing it, you know. And so, oh my gosh, there's like so much that I can say, but the point is that when you're dating someone that's not Christian, yeah, you know, there will be two different completely viewpoints to everything that you do and see, because your hearts are not aligned and will never be aligned, because you are, you know the truth, you know who God is, and you know, and even though you're not, for me, like I wasn't completely following Christ at that time, obviously, otherwise probably wouldn't have been dating someone who's not a Christian, saving my heart so many things and pains and aches. But yeah, I think that when you're not dating someone that is aligned with God's heart, and just the way your heart, you know, is aligned, or it could be aligned or was aligned at one point, yeah, situations and issues and problems are going to rise up because you're not seeing it through the same lens as the other person. So, ojo, be careful, keep an eye out, and be careful.